Last night, President Trump took a quick break from night golfing to speak to the nation in a major primetime address. It was a good speech, and he successfully read it.
Fox News alerted new strategy for Afghanistan. President Trump announcing his plan for America's longest war.
President Trump now promising to pump additional troops into the war-torn country.
From now on, victory will have a clear definition: attacking our enemies, obliterating ISIS, crushing al-Qaeda, preventing the Taliban from taking over Afghanistan, and stopping mass terror attacks against America before they emerge.
So one clear, direct, got it. Like, I'm sorry, look, I know that he's been president for 7 months, but seeing Donald Trump making military decisions is still weird for me. I mean, he must be the first human being in history who gets to command an army after starring in a Pizza Hut commercial. It's just a little strange. But I will say this, I shouldn't prejudge. Maybe Mr. Pizza Hut does have a new plan. The only problem is, while we do know that Trump has decided to send more troops to Afghanistan, that's pretty much all we know. Trump's actual strategy is like his position on Nazis. It's unclear.
The president gave very few details about his new strategy for Afghanistan. It did involve increased troop levels, but he gave no specifics. He also set no end date.
Very few specifics and even fewer benchmarks.
One way or another, these problems will be solved. I'm a problem solver. And in the end, we will win.
Yeah, Trump is a problem solver the same way Godzilla is a city planner. Yes. The only way Donald Trump could consider himself a problem solver is if he stops creating problems. You guys are so lucky. I was about to do something, but I stopped myself. Problem pre-solved. Now, last night, one thing we all noticed was that we were listening to Book Report Trump, you know? No crazy tangents, no crowd work, just complete sentences and coherent thoughts, focusing on the words. But there were still definitely glimpses of Freestyle Trump.
Terrorists who slaughter innocent people will find no glory in this life or the next. They are nothing but thugs and criminals and predators and, that's right, losers.
That's right, losers. You're in my vocabulary now. Even as he is escalating a war, Trump has to throw in his catchphrase. Can you imagine if President Obama did that? Can you just imagine if he was like, our special forces have just killed Osama bin Laden. Bazinga. Yesterday's speech was a little surprising from Trump. First of all, because he didn't bring up the Electoral College for a change, and more importantly, he flip-flopped on every Afghanistan campaign promise he made, right? Because remember, he promised fewer troops, he promised fewer wars, and he flip-flopped on that. And to his credit, he acknowledged the flip-flop straight up.
The commander-in-chief made it clear he's listening to his generals, who say the way to beat the Taliban and ISIS is with more boots on the ground.
My original instinct was to pull out, and historically, I like following my instincts. But all my life, I've heard that decisions are much different when you sit behind the desk in the Oval Office. In other words, when you're president of the United States.
Oh, that's what sitting behind the desk in the Oval Office means, being president. I'm so glad he explained it to us the same way General Kelly explained it to him. Listen, who are you? Oh, and by the way, I don't know why we're surprised. It's like, oh, why didn't Trump pull out? The guy's got 5 kids. He was never gonna pull out. Come on. Like, what I will say is shocking, though, is that Trump went against his instinct, right? His instinct was to pull out of Afghanistan. Then he changed his mind, right? The question is, how do you convince Donald Trump to not do something? It turns out by giving him something he wants to do more.
One of the ways McMaster tried to persuade Trump to recommit to the effort was by convincing him that Afghanistan was not a hopeless place. He presented Trump with a black and white snapshot from 1972 of Afghan women in miniskirts walking through Kabul to show him that Western norms had existed there before and could return.
I gotta say, that's a genius move by the general right there. I mean, Trump may not care about bringing democracy to Afghanistan, but bringing mini skirts. That's a different story. Afghanistan is a lost cause. We should pull out immediately. Sir, with more troops, we could get these women showing some leg again. I want you to put every soldier we have into this country. This is too important. How many troops will it take to get boobs? How many more? Tell me now. Tell me now. So, President Trump is adding more troops to Afghanistan. And you have to ask yourself what the end goal of the strategy is. Because as much as Trump wants to act like he's doing something different, the truth is he's saying things that sound very familiar.
From now on, victory will have a clear definition.
I owe you a mission that is clearly defined.
We will not dictate to the Afghan people how to live.
We are not in Afghanistan to control that country or to dictate its future.
We must stop the resurgence of safe havens.
We must deny al-Qaeda a safe haven.
Afghans will secure and build their own nation.
Afghans will have to take responsibility for their security.
Our support is not a blank check.
The days of providing a blank check are over.
Bazinga.
Bazinga! I said it first, bazinga! Bazinga!